In times of old, the world was full of wonder and magic. But times change.
I'm a mighty warrior!
Hey everybody! Today, as of the filming of this, is April 3rd, and Disney Pixar's Onward just launched on the Disney Plus streaming service.
Today.
So we took this time to go ahead and watch it, and today we're going to be doing some mix of reviews and early impressions and thoughts, and that's going to culminate into the video you're about to watch. So, Jessica, you can start us off, or I can start us off, however.
Doesn't matter. Are we giving spoilers or anything?
Okay, so here's how I want to handle that, because this is kind of a spur of the moment. We just finished watching it like 10 minutes ago. I'm going to say right now that we have the freedom to say spoilers, and in post, I'll put either...
there's about to be a spoiler.
Either there's... No, just in general, whether there's spoilers, you need to watch the movie first, or whether you're free to watch this before. But regardless, we need to touch on the story a little bit without, going too much into it. It involves two brothers, voiced by... Barley, voiced by Chris Pratt, and Ian, voiced by Tom Holland. Star-Lord and Spider-Man.
I'm gonna ask you this one time. Where is Gamora?
Yeah, I'll do you one better. Who's Gamora?
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora?
It's pretty cool.
It's fitting.
They are two brothers, as discussed. Their dad has passed away, but they are very big into basically what amounts to D&D, or at least Barley is.
Yeah, Barley is.
And turns out the dad was too, and the dad basically leaves them a birthday present with a spell that can revive him for a day.
Yeah.
This does not...
So that he can see them.
Right, because he wants to see them when they're all grown up.
And he wasn't necessarily into D&D. I don't know if we want to say what it was.
The quest for you.
He was a wizard. An actual wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Oh, he was... Okay, well, I missed that part.
Yeah, because their version of D&D, Quest for Yore, is based on their history.
Yes.
It's not just a game like D&D. It was supposed to be based off their history.
Okay.
So, I guess it's kind of spoilers now, but, so it starts out with saying, in their history, they had magic and stuff, and then, technology's developed, all that stuff, and people stopped using magic.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know he was old enough to still be a part of the magic world.
That's what that was supposed to be. He said he was a wizard. He had that staff to give to them because
I thought it was just a metaphor.
No.
But okay, I missed out on that. From there, they bring the dad back for a day. Doesn't go as planned.
Yeah.
So they had to spend the movie trying to fix what went wrong when they were casting the spell, basically. And that's...
They need a certain item.
They need a certain item, and that's their quest. And that's more or less the plot of the movie.
No way! It's a wizard staff. Dad was a wizard!
What? Your dad was an accountant.
Now, from here, I'll talk about the world. Because when you look at Disney Pixar's films, they do a good job of world building. Mm-hmm. Toy Story, they introduced us to the toys. They made Andy's bedroom feel like a world in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I think probably their masterpiece as far as world building, as long as I'm not missing one, would be Monsters, Inc. But they've had Inside Out, the way they had inside of Riley's head, is that her name?
Yeah.
Bug's Life, they shrink you down to the size of a bug. Finding Nemo, they take you under to sea.
Yeah.
For me personally, I felt like the world could have been fleshed out a little more in Onward, but it's also kind of the point, is that even though they're elves and manticores and magical creatures, they kind of evolved the way that humans did, where we don't need magic anymore. It shows a character inventing the light bulb.
A centaur that apparently can run fast is driving in a car.
Yeah, he says, I don't need to run out of a car.
Yeah, there's sprites that can't fly anymore because their ancestors stopped flying. Basically, they eventually stopped flying, so they didn't know they could fly. They thought they couldn't.
It's like the evolution of bats. They don't use their eyes, because why would they? They're in caves. So, in one hand, it's a great design choice to kind of make the world feel bland and boring because they've gone away from magic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like it does cripple the world building. But again, it's on flavor because it's basically a D&D campaign, theater of the mind.
I was going to say it's like D&D the movie.
Yeah, because they have to use theater of their mind. Like they go to a manticore tavern and it's now a birthday party
Place,
gathering, you know. So it's been stripped of its magic. So it's one of those points of contention for me where I think design-wise they hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have seen the world fleshed out more. I mean, half the film takes place on an interstate.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, but that's just how it is.
I don't think it's
The
half the film.
A third of the film?
Maybe.
Either way.
Maybe we'll get a sequel.
Maybe.
They'll go
We'll
on
see.
into their journey.
If it's adventure you seek, you've come to the right tavern.
Oh, no.
So, I will say, Disney Pixar has made a lot, or at least Pixar has made a lot of films by now, and I think what this movie does best is its writing. The characters are very enjoyable. The payoff at the end of the movie is great, but what Pixar does really well is it sets up its scenes and lets the scenes kind of write themselves very well. So, for example, we mentioned they were going to the Manticore Tavern, and in the scene, or the previous scene, Barley is telling Ian, you have to work on your magic if we're going to cast it on Dad again. And they're sitting there trying to get him to cast a levitation spell on a soda can. And he can't do it. He can't speak from his heart. He's just not passionate about it. Because at this point, Ian still doesn't really care about magic. He's just doing it because, if there's a shot he can bring his dad back, he'll do it. But he can't get the can to lift. So then they go into the Manticore bar. They arouse the Manticore. She sets the tavern on fire. And it's falling apart, and it's going to crush.
There's like a big beam that's going to crush their dad.
So now Ian is invested, and he casts the levitation spell on the falling debris to save the dad. And you see this.
It's called him using his heart fire.
Yes, exactly. And you see this just over and over and over. So the hardest spell in the book is the arc lightning spell, but Ian's not ready. He has to basically learn everything there is about spells, because there's a disguise spell that he has to be true and never lie, and then there's a what do they call it? The shrinking, but the magnifying, right?
Yeah, something like that, where he has to focus on that thing.
Yeah, he has to stay focused, but he can't stay focused.
So he shrinks Barley.
And he shrinks Barley,
and making the gas can bigger.
And that's when they run into the sprites. And it sets up before where Ian is scared to drive, right?
Yeah.
So now they're getting chased by a band of sprites. And since Barley's tiny, Ian has to drive.
Yeah, he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, he doesn't have a choice. So he starts driving. And I tell Jessica, if you need to teach your kid how to drive, just throw them on a life-threatening, perilous adventure, and suddenly, they become master.
We have 1 minute.
We only have 24 hours to bring the rest of him back.
Until then, ta-da!
Oh, that's great. Dad, you look just like I remember.
They'll become master drivers.
Yeah.
So, but it's just so masterfully written with each scene. They kind of set up the scene and then they just let it ride itself. So we need Ian to learn how to drive, but we also need, to cast this magnifying spell, he has to stay focused. Well, what's one event you need to stay focused at all times to master? Driving. So the scenes really complement themselves.
Yeah, they do.
And
I didn't think about it like that.
And you are taught when writing to always use your foreshadowing, right? Like if you're going to bring a gun in the first scene, you better use it by the third scene or whatever the saying is. So like in the beginning, they're mocking Colt, like they're doing the right?
Yeah.
So they're saying, Ian, you don't know how to do a Colt impersonation, which Colt is the Centaur police officer. Well, with the disguise spell, Ian has to literally become Colt.
Yeah.
So they set everything up. If I have to give
Onward,
Onward,
by the end, they're joking with him.
Yeah.
So just to play on all of that.
Yeah. So if I had to give the highest compliments, it's Pixar really knows how to write their films. I mean, they set each scene up masterfully, and then they deliver through with it, and it all makes sense. It all complements it very well. So those were my big points. The masterful scene writing, the world building, which was interesting. I like what they did with it. It's just personally my preference would have been to see the world fleshed out.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are injected into a time period where the world is almost stagnant. There is no growth. There is no great magic.
Yeah, but at the beginning, it does show you like how they got there.
You do get to see bits and pieces of it.
The car and stuff like that. Like you mentioned, the light bulb, all that. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, but we are just injected at a time when all that's over with. But again, without spoiling the ending of the movie, so you guys can go and watch it, the payoff is great. Yes. I enjoyed it very much. I was telling Jessica, I think this movie is going to go down with WALL-E and Up as being underappreciated, really. Yeah. Like, everybody knows Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, but not too many people talk about WALL-E and Up, which are really good on their own.
WALL-E is really good. Up is really good. It's one of those movies that's really good. It has some sad parts. All of them, though, seem to have some sad parts, including this movie. But it was so
sad.
Good. It was really good.
I think I would give it maybe like an 8.5. Like, I don't think it's better than Monsters, Inc. or Toy Story, but it holds its own. It's a very good movie. I would watch it again.
And I would watch all those movies again, so.
Yeah, the payoff is great. It'll test you. It'll test you as a man. Oh. It will. But it's a good movie.
I teared up multiple times.
I had to holler at the TV to prevent from tearing up because
it was so good though.
You do get invested. Like, it's Tom Holland and Chris Pratt voicing these characters very well. The rest of the
the brothers. I mean, you gotta think at first, you know, kind of argue, but then they bond more and stuff like that. So I mean, it's about the brothers too, like seeing them throughout all this, and you know they want to see their dad, but then also they bond more and stuff. So. Yeah, because
Barley is a very embarrassing, you know, D&D player.
Yeah.
But and Ian isn't necessarily into that world yet. But I highly recommend it. It's I was gonna say it's free, but it's free if you have Disney Plus. If you have Disney
Plus, or go get you the free trial. To watch this.
It's a good movie, and then you can watch Mandalorian while you're there.
There's a good bit of stuff on there now. So
I would give it about an 8.5, somewhere in that 8 to 9 range. It's very good. It's very good. I think I don't want to say it's Pixar at their best, but it's very good.
Yeah, it is very good. I don't know what I would rank it.
Would you give it like an A, a B, a C?
I mean, I'd give it an A if I was going to do it like that. Yeah, definitely an A. It was. I mean, it was really good, and like I said, I'd watch it again. I don't know where I'd rank it between like the other Disney Pixar movies that I really like, but I mean, all Disney Pixar movies I've seen have an A, and this is included. So
that's fair.
A wasn't bad at all.
I'm still thinking of where I sit on it.
It's just sad.
Because I told Jessica, I think it holds its own against like The Incredibles and Finding Dory. I may put it at 4. I would go
Finding Dory or Finding Nemo.
I actually liked Finding Dory. I know a lot of people said that it was underwhelming compared to Finding Nemo. I'm like, well, I would say the Toy Story franchise, the Monsters Inc. franchise, Inside Out, and then maybe Onward. Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But Onward was really good to me.
I'm not going to rank them, so I'm saying it had an A.
Well, there's my top 3. The Toy Story franchise, the Monster Inc. franchise, Inside Out, and then, I don't know, it's tough right there. There's, you know, Finding Nemo's quality, Onward's quality, Incredibles, WALL-E.
That's what I'm saying. There's not a bad one. There's not a bad one.
I mean, Ratatouille was forgettable, but I don't think that makes it bad.
It wasn't bad. I haven't seen Coco or The Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur is the one I haven't seen.
But of all that I've seen, none are bad.
No, none are bad. People don't like Cars 3, but I didn't hate it. But I saw it like 8 years ago. So.
I gotta rewatch stuff.
Yeah, me too. But let us know what you guys thought of Onward.
If you watched it, if you're gonna watch it,
go watch it. What are some other stuff you're looking forward to watching during this quarantine time?
Yeah.
And that's really it for us. We'll see you guys whatever video you watch next.
Bye.
It worked! The can is huge! And the van is huge! And you're... Oh no.